Well, good afternoon and welcome back to the Little French Homestead. I have a compilation of some of the dinners that we have done this past week. This is the Pantry Challenge that has been going on now for about a week. The Pantry Challenge is usually 1 month, but a lot of people do extend it to 2 months. You usually make your own rules up as you go along. A lot of people still put a few bucks aside for fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, maybe some milk or some cream, some, in a little bit of expenses like that. We have here for our pantry challenge is we're going to go today, which was Sunday. This is the crockpot Fritos pie. This was really good. Yes, the Fritos did get just a little soft. I would have liked them a little bit more crunchier. And I did prefer my onions not as steamed as the way these were here. I did forget to put them in here while I was showing you, but I did remember, of course, after the video got shut off, I added the onions. You should add your onions in right after the beef layer. I think next time, if we go ahead and make this, I definitely want to do maybe sauteed onions. Other than that, this was really good. Maybe not put that layer of Fritos on top. I might wait till we get ready to serve and then put that on so you still get that crunch factor. But this was still really good. You could serve it with a side of rice, some cream cheese. Some sour cream on top. Maybe a little bit of avocado, some green onions, and this would be a really great dinner. I did not have rice on the side. We just had this plain, as you can see. Now, this is Monday night's dinner. Monday night was very simple. We did grilled cheese and bologna sandwiches with tomato soup. Now, I usually don't always cook the bologna. I had taken the bologna out a little too late, and it was still pretty frozen. So what I ended up doing is frying it on that, and it was delicious. I have one child that does not like grilled cheese sandwiches, so she had a little bit of the dinner from the night before. I have another child who's not a fan of tomato soup, so she just had a couple of grilled cheese sandwiches, and me, my husband, and my son, we all did tomato soup with grilled cheese sandwiches. This was a very simple meal. It does not have to be very expensive or very elevated in your pantry challenge. You're just trying to use up what you have on stock and in a rotation. So the next night after this, we had done a wonderful chicken cordon bleu casserole. I should have done a little bit more on the chicken. I only had 4 small chicken thighs, which were boneless and skinless, which is totally fine. But I think next time around, I will do a little bit more. Everybody did like this one in my household. You just brown the chicken. You go ahead and set it in the bottom of the casserole dish. They're supposed to layer it. So you would do a layer of chicken, a layer of ham. You pick whatever ham you want. I had Black Forest ham, boar's head. And we're not a Swiss family, so I have provolone, and I think the provolone won it. So you're supposed to do a layer. So it would be chicken, ham, cheese, and then you're making a cheese sauce, not really a cheese sauce, a bechamel. Um, and then you would pour the bechamel over that layer, and then you would do another layer of the chicken, ham, cheese, the bechamel, and then on that top layer, you would go ahead and do a crumble. So you would get melted butter, your breadcrumbs, and then if you Parmesan cheese, mix that all up, and you would add that on to the top. You bake that in the oven for, I think it was like 35 minutes at like 375. What I also did too is at the last couple minutes, I put it on broil so I could get that top nice and crunchy. It didn't look as crunchy at that 35-minute mark, even though everything was already all melted. So that's the reason why I did that, and it turned out delicious. All of my kids loved this one. We did serve it on a small side of rice, but I think next time you could do like egg noodles, or you could even do pasta. This will definitely be on our rotation again. So a little bit more on that pantry challenge. You'd want to go ahead and make sure you see what you have in your freezer, in your pantry, whether you can all of your vegetables that you grown in your garden. You want to make sure we use all of this stuff up during this time frame, and then that way you saving money. So instead of having to go to the store and spend your $300, $400, $500, $1,000, whatever your limit is on your weekly budget, you put that then aside. Go ahead and pay a bill, an extra bill if you need to. Pay a couple of bills. Maybe go ahead and put it aside for a future vacation. Or if you happen to be needing to do, a small renovation project. I mean, for anything to go ahead and do that. Yeah, you're going to want to go ahead and maybe set a little bit aside. If you are like me, I am setting mine aside, because as soon as I go ahead and get rid of one full freezer full of food, I'm going to go ahead and clean out that freezer, and then I'll move everything over, clean out the other freezer, and then I will do a big shopping trip to refill, mostly on leftover many meats or anything like that. I mean, I certainly do not need any mayonnaise or any mustards or anything like that, but I will definitely go ahead and use all of my meats and put them all in. So you see here, I'm just adding a little bit of mustard and some spices to this sauce. It's going to get poured over there in just a few moments. We love chicken cordon bleu here in our house. So I'm trying to find different ways to do it. Instead of the traditional way where you would take a boneless, skinless chicken breast and butterfly it open. And what butterfly means is you cut it down into the center and open it all the way up without cutting all the way through. You would normally then take a piece of parchment paper or saran wrap, and you would take a meat tenderizer and pound it until you get very thin, usually about 1/4 of an inch. There you would then add your 2 or 3 pieces of ham, a couple of pieces of cheese, your your filling. So if you wanted to add, some salt and some pepper, maybe a little bit of Dijon mustard, in there, and then you wrap it all up. Then you would go ahead and stick a toothpick in it so it would hold for when you transfer it to the egg wash and breadcrumbs. And then you would bake that in the oven until your chicken is 165 temp inside. That is the normal way to go ahead and do chicken cordon bleu. But I've done it this way. I've done it as a different type of casserole. I'll have to find that video, maybe link that down in the description box, or maybe I'll post it up on the side. We like to try to find a few different variations, but still very similar. Sometimes in our family, if we have something that's really tried and true, we personally just like to go ahead and have that particular item. So we do deviate, but it's not very often. So this dinner here was for the gumbo. Really, really, really delicious. Now, the only thing that I would do a little bit differently on that gumbo, again, I would probably saute those onions. Now, I love French onion soup and I love raw onions, but sometimes if I don't get that right texture for onions, then it's the whole meal is not as pleasing. So when I moved away some of those onions, I finished the rest of the dish and it was delicious. Here, you are mixing your Cajun spices with your chicken. I've shaken it all up and I'm going to add it to my crock pot. You want to go ahead and get at least just one package of andouille sausage. Slice those pretty thin. And then you're just going to layer it from there. So then you've got your onions, you got your peppers, you got your garlic. Then also too, in that pot that's sitting over there, I got a gumbo dry roux specifically for your gumbo. And you add it with 6 cups of chicken stock. And once you mix that all together with a couple of bay leaves, you allow it to cook for about 6 hours. After you go ahead and do that, right near the end, you're going to Cajun dry season rub your shrimp. Make sure that they are peeled and deveined. I also had a mostly cooked shrimp. So you want to do the shrimp for about 10, maybe 15 minutes. You're going to give it a good mix. We had it on the side of some, look at that. Isn't that delicious? And I want to tell you, it smelled so good in my house when we were making that. The kids, after they had come home, because this was cooking for 6 hours. I started this like at 8 o'clock in the morning. And when the kids come home at 3 o'clock, they were like, wow, the house is smelling amazing. And it did. So what I used for the side is I made some, we had from a previous recipe, some Grand's biscuits. So I just made some biscuits and we had biscuits with gumbo. Yes, I do know that gumbo is usually served over rice. Again, we had rice the night before and 2 days before that. So I didn't want to go ahead and keep using rice. And none of us had a problem just eating gumbo like this as a soup. I do have a couple containers left because this was a lot. My husband did take some to work that day, but this was a lot. So I had stuck some in the freezer after this all cooled down. So now we can go ahead and pull out a single serving of gumbo, and anybody can share that at any time frame. But this was super delicious. This is a definite make again. All right, then for this particular evening, we went and did some bratwurst. So on a sheet pan, I had already had pre-diced peppers. Usually my store will have peppers, buy one, get one free in the packages. So when I see those are the ones that I'll get. And I will pre-cut them so I don't have to worry about it. Then I sliced up one good onion, and I got these bratwurst here. We made them into a hot dog. So I added a little bit of salt and pepper to this. I baked it in the oven. It took about almost 30 minutes because you still want to make sure you get that temp at 165 because this bratwurst is not fully cooked. So it is raw. So that's what I ended up doing. And this was a really great way to use up some bratwurst into hot dog buns that we had, and we just did it with a side of chips. So when you're planning your meals, they do not have to be super hard or super long. All right, and then what I got here going is I have some meals coming up this week that involves some shredded chicken. So I just taken out my chicken, put it in my crock pot, put a little bit of water in, and now I am putting in 3 full-size chicken breasts into these bags. I did allow them to completely cool before I packed them up. I just set them in there so I could clean them up. I had a cat who loves chicken, and I did not want her to go inside anything. I also kept all of that chicken juice so we can go ahead and use that with these upcoming meals. This was super easy, super fun, very hands-off on this. I would like to say thank you so much for coming to visit my home. If you like these videos, please go ahead, like, share, but most importantly, go ahead and subscribe. I will click that notification button to make sure you get all of my updates. And as always, have a great day. Keep on cooking. Bye.